Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the safe room. It's been a while. I mean, yes, you've been seeing episodes been uploaded, but those were like planned ahead. Like I've been gone for like 3 weeks. Like this is the first time I'm back, and man, we are here with another episode, and I got a very special guest with me. She's been on her grind. Like I've been seeing her doing her thing, yo. Like it's been a minute since we talked and everything. I would just want to welcome Nicole to the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I've been gone for a couple of weeks, so just a fair warning to everyone. If I sound off my game, please just let it be. Don't be
You're doing
roasting me or
fine.
anything.
You're doing fine. You're doing just fine.
Thank you, thank you. So today we have a very interesting topic. I want to talk about free will. Now, before anyone starts panicking and be like, "Oh, something controversial is about to happen," no, we're just gonna have an open conversation. We always do on the podcast. But this is something that I found very interesting, especially to one specific event that happened, I believe, I think a week or two ago. And I think everyone knows this person very well for his music. And for the longest while since that incident, he's been like the talk. Yes, I'm talking about the one and only DaBaby. And Nicole rolling the eyes, it lets you know right there. Lets you know right there. So
Anyways, continue.
yeah, so after that incident, it made me want to talk about this. But before we get into that, we need to get into Nicole and what you're doing with Black Beauty Tech because we
Uh,
we need to talk about that. Like when I first discovered you, first of all, I didn't even know you were doing YouTube. So that shocked me at first.
yeah, I was like hiding it at first a little bit because I was kind of like I don't know if the word is embarrassed or just like shy, a mix of the two. So I was like, I'm gonna do it. If you see it, you see it. If you don't, you don't. And then later on, I said, okay, let me start actually like promoting it. Yeah.
Yeah, I get it, but like the content that you put, it's really good. It's really not even good. It's fantastic. Like honestly, like I heard some of the conversation. I was just like this the stuff you don't hear every single day. In fact, you know what? Like it just it felt away with me. It just did.
Which video like did you like
I
first?
think I think it was the one where it um I think it was the it's cool. I think it was the black woman conversation. I don't know if that was the
Oh yes, yes, yes. The one, the black woman dating at predominantly white institutions. Yeah,
right.
I think that one was really good because I did it with my friends from uni, and like this is something that we've been like talking about for a long time, and I thought like how could I just like introduce my channel, and so it was just supposed to be one video with the girls just to give other black women the like sort of something to relate to. And when we finished that one, I was like, you know what, like it would be really good to hear the guys version. And then that was supposed to be it. And then when everybody watched each other's videos, like everybody's like, let's do, well, when everybody watched the girls video, they were like, okay, let's do one all together. And
Mhm.
we actually filmed that, and then after we filmed that, I posted the guys version, and then the girls were like, hell no, I take back everything I said, let's redo it, I'm gonna read this guy's video, da 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 da. And then we refilmed part 3, which was in 2 parts. That was intense. But yeah.
Well, that's great to hear. So, like, and also I just want to know like the idea of like black beauty tech. Like, when did it first start for you? What did you want it to like represent? Just what was like the backstory behind it? And like, what do you want to like push out to people who are listening and watching your videos?
School, I always really loved like makeup and that kind of stuff. But I think like my form of expression was a little bit limited just because I sort of like went to school with people who weren't also like really, really into makeup. And those people that kind of just like yeah, I just felt like when I now came into university, I thought I'd be like having more chances to like express myself and get into the makeup that I really, really wanted to do. But then I kind of got hit with the fact that I'm in like a predominantly white school, which is one thing, but also in a predominantly male dominated like program, which is another thing. And like balancing like respect within that program is a very it's a balancing act really and truly. Like, and I found that the more I sort of like blended, I was more into like that sort of like tomboy, like hang with the guys. I sort of like lost my passion for makeup by the time like second year hit. And a lot of the like, things that I did in high school, advocacy work for like Black students and kind of things, I felt like I couldn't be that person or be that vocal about it in certain spaces. So even though I had just founded a club on campus called Queenston Diversity Project. Like I never really talked about that within my tech spaces. And
Yeah.
so I had wanted to like, I had dabbled around the idea of like starting a beauty YouTube channel, but I was like, I'm gonna lose passion for that really quick. Then I started, I had so many different ideas. And then in fourth year, I had more time because obviously we're all at home, virtual. And like, I was like, I wanna start a YouTube channel where I can dabble with beauty, dabble with like Black issues, and also like with tech. Like I wanna do it all. I don't really feel like choosing. And so I was like, looking for names. I would call my guy friends, call my girlfriends, call everybody and just like ask like for different names, different ideas. And then I'm like, I'm literally gonna call it Black Beauty Tech because that's literally what I am. I'm a Black person. Yeah, no, really, like I'm a Black person. I love to talk about Black issues. I love beauty, and I love talking about tech. So they're literally like, three things that like, encompass who I am as a person.
Hmm.
And I just want to be a platform where like other people, I talk to a lot of other women who maybe are not Black, but also felt like, they had to be one or the other. And in terms of like hobbies, like beauty wasn't really a hobby that you can really associate with like tech. It's more so like video games and that kind of stuff. But I kind of want just women to feel like, they can be in tech, but also like not have to like lose their feminine side if you are a feminine person. If you're not, that's cool. But yeah, so that's how it started. And from that, Bobby Tech came about.
Yeah, sometimes the best ideas you have are like the most simplistic ones,
Mhm.
So I love the stuff that you're doing. It's amazing. Just keep it up. And we're all rooting for you. We really are. To just get into like the main topic, so free will. So again, this really came to be for me in terms of like the conversation of what happened with DaBaby. And I'm gonna be honest because I am that person that just likes to say like it is, it wasn't even just like the comment itself, how it was so offensive and how it was just desensitizing, a specific group. It's just more my mindset was like, how was that like the first thought that even came into your head?
It's the platform and the way he said it, where he said it, how he said it, his audience, the setting. Like, I'm not surprised that this came out of his mouth by any means, because let's be honest, DaBaby has been doing a lot of things that he should have been got canceled for from time. But you're at a concert, people paid to come see you. People from all different types. You didn't write on your ticket, if you're this, if you're that, don't buy my ticket. You took their money and then you're saying
Hmm.
all of this. It's very embarrassing. Like in the thousands of people that are there, I'm sure that there were some people who like, felt very small in that in like, felt very like embarrassed or felt like, they had to mask and hide. And I just feel
Absolutely.
but like just taking away what he said for 1 second, just looking at the fact that like, there's people who came there to see you because they idolize you in some sort of way, and they left that concert feeling called out, that itself is just like a lack of respect. And then you put in like what he actually said, the homophobia, all of it, it's just very distasteful. Ugh, I can't. Mm-mm. I can't.
No,
It's just very like
no, but like,
uh-uh.
yeah, not even be even serious. Like, the baby's done some messed up thing. Like, there's been times like he's literally killed. He's literally gotten in fights with people, and
Like
nothing happened to him
by
there.
their head, like he's always been like, I think it's like, unless people get really enraged about it and very loud about it, and we're seeing now like brands are like pulling out, unless like that happens where they're losing a bag, nothing really happens. They don't have to really take accountability. I'm pretty sure that like when he said it, it wasn't probably planned, something that he just said. I don't think he would have done it if he knew he was going to get these kind of consequences from it. um
Yeah, absolutely. And like the funniest thing too is that that's what I say. Like, I believe there's a power
yeah.
dynamic within it where in a sense that whoever has the power, like those people don't really understand that what you say can have an impact, especially on someone's mental health.
Making them, sort of like, what's the immune to certain things, or being able to escape things because of the power that they have. We
Hmm.
see it like it's a classic power like dynamic case. Trump does all this things to women, but knows that he can say it out loud and people are going to still defend him, even if they don't defend him. He has money to shut people up, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's a classic case of just power dynamics. I don't think he thought he was going to get those sort of repercussions, probably because other people have done similar things, maybe not in that sort of like way, but also have gotten away with it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
like I and it's funny too because like again like when it comes to like free will again, even though there's like people you have the right to say whatever you want, and again power dynamic comes into play. There's always going to be those supporters as well who believe whatever that individual has said, even if you're probably telling yourself in the
Yeah.
deepest root of your mind that you know what this is wrong. But like, I mean, if most of the people are saying it's fine, then I guess I'm just gonna hop on it as well. But it's like we're literally subjecting ourselves to be like we're literally letting society decide how we should think and what we should like or dislike, and it's actually disgusting.
Yeah. Like, do you want to like expand on that? I'm trying to like, I feel like at least for me, yeah, like society does like shape a lot of our opinions and stuff. But I feel like what gets put into society, like what we put out there, are based off of like change that we want to see within ourselves. You know, like people who that are HIV positive, that are gay, that are this, that, and the third, are pushing narratives into society to make it a better place for them and showing them. And then we as a society, whether we fit into that bracket or not, we support them by also saying like, yes, like we want to create a space that's also better and more safe for you. So when we say the kind of thing where it's like we're letting society like dictate what we think is good and what we think is bad, we've been doing that from time. Like
Hmm.
this isn't something that's new. The only thing that's maybe a little bit more new is the fact that we have like social media that influences things, but they had their own form of social media before. They had newspapers and different kind of
Right.
things, radios. Like they had things where like the more prominent means of sort of like getting people to a social setting. Like social media is just, it's not a new concept. It's just like repackaged. And
Exactly.
I feel like telling us what's right or what's wrong, I think that as we become more accepting, we're changing what we have once associated with being bad as being acceptable. You know what I mean? Like that, at least that's how I see it.
No, no, I
Um,
totally get it too, and like what I was trying to justify is that I feel sometimes when we say things, a lot of people don't take the time to just like listen and understand. It's kind of more just like jump to that last step of like, okay, do you agree or disagree? And I get it. With people's takes, it's like it's not about like whether you should agree or disagree. It's within your own discretion. But I feel
yeah,
like people skip that whole process about just listening to the conversation. Like if you're saying something that I feel like I don't is comfortable for me, I'm not gonna go lash out at you and just say like you're wrong or like I don't think
yeah,
of that. It's more the sense like okay, let me just hear what they're saying and like I can just respectfully like okay, I don't agree with your statement, but I heard you out and I understand your standpoint from it. I feel like a lot of people don't do that a lot
yeah.
these days.
I think honestly it's like it's two things, right? I 100% agree that I've told people that like I can listen to like a conservative like talk like shit that I don't agree with, but I might not be respectful about it. And I think that that's the kind of like key word is where I feel like people sort of say things, yeah, sure, say what you have to say. I might listen to it for the very fact of like I like having ammunition for my sort of like point of view, which is one. But also I also like seeing, is there some sort of like sense that is there. But the idea that like someone can say all these things and like to have a conversation I have to be respectful, I don't always agree with that kind of statement. I feel like action reaction, if you say something that I feel like deserves a calm, understanding, response, reaction, that is what you will get from me. But if I have to sit through you talking a lot of just things that I disagree with
A
or
bunch of
that is just
bullshit.
straight up like hateful, a bunch of bullshit, you're going to get that kind of response from
Yeah.
me. I think more so what I would love to see with people is like, instead of just writing off someone because, oh, like they're far left or because they're far right, just have more open, like be more open to the idea of having a conversation. Because I've had some conversations with some like far left people, and I've told them like, you're not even as left as you think you are. Like you're probably more in the middle, going towards conservative than you think you are. But because
Right.
more of the left kind of like thing online, you've told yourself that you're towards the left. And similar things, I've had people who I've talked to that are more on the right, but then they're like pro-choice, they're this, they're that. I'm just like, baby girl, are you sure that you're not just a conservative because your mom and dad are conservative? No. So I think in that kind of ways, I've been very like happy that a couple of times I've made the decision to listen to people with opposing sort of like political beliefs and then learn something, or even being able to like, learn, teach them something in that kind of way. But if it's bullshit, you're gonna get a bullshit response, and
Right,
that's just it.
exactly, like you said, action and
Yeah.
reaction, like, and I feel a lot of people don't hold themselves accountable to that. They feel like, "Oh, I always listen." Listen, that's absolute cap. There'll be times, even if it's like if we're not even
Oh,
talking political, it could be something that you're talking with your friends and be like, "Yo, that's just bullshit. I don't believe you," and this and
exactly.
that, and I'll be times like I look back and I'm like, hold up, I was so aggressive. Damn. Like, and it's like
Yeah,
maybe next time it's
yeah,
like, okay,
that's me.
right. I understand what they're coming through. Like, okay, but I'm not gonna take back what I did in sense like, oh, I should have next time I'm gonna see if I listen. No, if you still come with that same nonsense, I'm gonna give you the same reaction. And sometimes it's okay to be accountable to that. I feel some people feel like they need to hide and feel shame about it.
Yeah, exactly. Because I feel like the whole idea of like being open to conversation, sometimes gets mixed with the fact that like people have different personalities and different ways of approaching conversation. Like, me, I'm a more aggressive person by nature. So I'm not the kind of person that will be like, like that's just not who I like, not
Sounds
who I am.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm also not the kind of person that would listen to someone talk a monologue. We're gonna have to if we're having a conversation, there's gonna be like dialogue. You know what I mean? And I
Hmm.
think that sometimes when we talk about conversation, people kind of like associate that with just like listening and nothing else. Like, no, it's a two-way street. We both listen. But yeah, I definitely I definitely can relate to that. And accountability is very, very important. Accountability is also the reason why some people are not willing to have conversations, because they know that they're gonna get called out, or they know they're not going to be able to like back up their opinions. You know what I mean? So they just are like, my opinion is my opinion. I don't want to have accountability towards it. I don't want to have to defend my stance or any of that kind of thing. And those
Right.
kind of people just don't know why they believe what they believe, and that's just how I feel about that.
Exactly. So like, I kind of want to talk about, just people who like when they want to express an opinion, there's those who have like, good intentions, they just want to speak like a little bit of truth to a situation. And then there's those who like, I wouldn't say they have bad intentions. I think, what they say, they believe that it's something that is like fair and respectful, but like it kind of comes off in a bad way. So like, I just want to ask you, like, have you ever seen situations like that, whether it's like, people who are trying to like spread some knowledge that's like truthful and that's supposed to get out to people to understand more, or even the latter where it's more of like someone has said something and they're telling themselves like, oh, it's nothing bad, but it kind of came off in a more negative manner.
I definitely think that like people are sometimes apprehensive to share like unpopular opinions, because of the fact that sometimes it's like when you feel like a lot of people don't share your opinion, you're scared of like the pushback and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
I would argue that there's people who say share a different opinion with no malintent or no idea that it's going to be um that controversial. And there's people who know it's going to be controversial, but they're coming from a good place, but they also just kind of want to share it. Like the people who like to stir up, stir the pot a little bit. But there's
Yeah.
also people who know that what they're saying is controversial, but also say it to be that person to take a jab, like with malintent. There's those
Hmm.
three kinds of people. And I feel like that white girl that's just always trying to get into black people's business. What's her name? Tommy Loren or Laron or whatever her name is. She's the kind of person who I would describe as number three, where she says all this dumb shit and she knows that what she's saying is gonna piss people off. She knows what she's saying is like bad, or at least it's hurtful in some kind of way.
Hmm.
I think that in terms of like being more open to share opinions that are maybe not like mainstream, is just people getting out of their head on you can only have an opinion if other people agree with your opinion. Like who made that,
Right.
like a thing? I don't know. Maybe it's just the Leo Aries in me,
No,
but
no, no. That is
like
absolutely
yeah,
accurate.
like I don't know. I just never subscribed to that. Like,
No, no, because here's the
yeah,
thing, like, the perfect depiction, sometimes it's with the friends and the people you hang with. We have like these social norms in the sense like, you surround yourself with yes men or like yes people
Oh,
where like you say something and like you even recognize it too, especially if you grow strong with those friends like for years and years. You tell themselves like even if I say something, it's like no matter what, if it's good or right, you're gonna say, "Oh yeah, I understand you," and it's like no, it's like why do you do that? Like it's okay. Like if you gotta give me backlash for my like shit take,
give back.
do it.
Honestly, I'm so glad I don't have friends like that, because I have the kind of friends that will call you on your bullshit if they feel like what you're saying is what you're saying, but they'll also allow you to say what you want to say. Like
Right.
like a prime example, I remember my friends and I, we were having a conversation about some of these like acronyms that we have for like different minority groups: POC, BIPOC, QT BIPOC, 2S QT BIPOC. And I expressed that like I really do not like these names. Like I don't like all these acronyms. I know it makes it easier to like just sort of like um include multiple people, but it's
Hmm.
that aspect of just kind of like lumping things together that I don't like. And I remember seeing some faces kind of scrunch up and all that kind of stuff. And I said, if you let me explain, like I'll explain to you why I don't like them. And I said to them, I feel like it makes administration lazy. I feel like, especially at Queens, I'm talking specifically at Queens where I did my
Right.
undergrad, you know, they'll say, oh, we're doing equity, diversity, inclusion work for QT BIPOC. Some of these people in administration don't even know what QT BIPOC stands for.
Yo.
And they make these events for two SQT BIPOC that really only work for one of, or maybe two of the acronyms. And like you realize that
Right.
like we all have like a shared experience of oppression, but like how we got there, the generational trauma, it's very, very different. You
Hmm.
can't tell me that like, yes, a Black person can relate to indigenous peoples on like what they've been through, but it's a very different struggle.
Yeah.
What I mean? And it annoys me that administration feels like they're doing something because they made up acronyms and they're making events for the whole entire acronym without actually looking at like, okay, what are each of these groups of people, what do they each need?
And
And so
like,
that kind of yeah in that kind of situation, like my friends could have been like, oh yes, I totally understand, but no, they were just like, oh, but what do you like, they gave me some pullback, and then I now uh like gave back to them. I said,
it's
this
like
is
now you're like
real.
you're causing more flame.
Exactly. And we ended up like having like understanding each other. There was a couple people that still kind of felt like, you know what, like they still like, agree with the acronyms because it is a predominantly white institution and we can only expect so much from white people. But to be honest, like I feel like we have to continue raising the bar and raise it with a quickness, because white people in administration can be super, super slow. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
it's terrible when like you're talking about like BIPOC, but there's not even one person who represents that group in the administration.
Administration, thank
It's
you.
like get out of here with that nonsense. No, I totally get it. I get it. Like I had a conversation one time where we talked about universal basic income. Like, should that be a thing? And I was one of the people that's like, I don't think so because it's like, I kid you not. If you slap the some amount of money in front of me, I would be so confused on like, what the heck do I do with this? Like, I don't know how to allocate this, prioritize it for my own needs. People say, but like, oh my gosh, it's like it's necessary because like you have all these like marginalized communities who need like support. I'm like, and I get that, but at the same time, the government like they have all this money from time and they didn't even want to pull it for stuff like when it came to grants, especially during the pandemic and all that stuff. It's like,
And that's why, like, I totally hear where you're coming from, but I would agree, like I do feel like universal like base income would help, because the reason why they're not coughing up the money that they have for these grants, because it's never been an expectation to, like, they've never been told, like, been like put in a position where like that is the bare minimum, like we
right.
we looked at those grants as like, oh my god, the government is doing all this, but these people have money. Please, it's print paper. Please, I don't care what nobody says, it's printed paper. Okay,
Yeah.
make a new business, give the business the paper, cycle in the economy. I don't care what nobody says. I feel like, yeah, I feel like it's all a lie. It's all a lie.
Absolutely. And like again, like this type of like conversation, it doesn't just talk about or like spread to like things like this. Like I know I have these types of debates with my friends when it comes to sports. Sometimes we be going in for like hours and hours on like certain takes and like yeah, like and it's hilarious how like people who want to say something may not come off like as bad, but like you described it in three different ways. But like
Mhm.
there's also the people who try to do something that's like, okay, good intentions. Like I just want to get knowledge across. But what I realized too, it's not even like whether the knowledge is actually getting across. It's more of like, who's actually hearing it. And I feel like
Yeah.
more people tend to like hear more of like the bad takes than the actual good takes, or just take consideration to listen to the bad takes than the
When you
good
say,
takes.
when you say the takes, do you mean um like the bad aspects of what a person is saying, or just like in general like controversial opinions?
Like I would say the controversial opinions, I
Oh
feel like more people like take the time to like dissect what those people say, because like even if it's like, again, you say it's wrong, if you like, one example, social media, if someone says something controversial, I guarantee you the comment section would probably go in nuts,
yeah.
rather to someone who probably says something that is true and like factual. It's kind of more like, yeah, I get it, or like someone say, yeah, we already know this already. It's like,
I think honestly, I've noticed that as well. In general, like bad always seems to get more traction than good. But also
mm-hmm,
I think because everybody's kind of like understanding the power of like social media and like word of mouth and that kind of thing, it's really good to like nip things in the bud. Imagine someone saying something that's like that you find to be offensive or like dangerous, like when what was that black guy that don't really like black people, Kanye West was saying that what do you call it? What did that guy say again? Um, something about black people wanted to be enslaved or
oh,
some.
slavery was a choice.
So if it was a choice, that's the kind of thing where like with a quickness I'd have to clap back, because not only are black people hearing this, like young black people hearing this, but also white people who will literally eat that narrative up, because
Mm-hmm.
it literally it absolves them of the responsibility of slavery and like the intergenerational trauma kind of thing. That's the kind of thing where I feel like, yeah, like I want the trolls, the educational people, all of them to like eat, like nib that in the butt, because if it is allowed to just kind of like germinate and just do all these kind of things, like we won't be able to control the narrative. But then there's the other ones where it's like the small little comments that people like maybe don't like, and like they take it out of context or blow it out of proportion. I feel like that's just people like tag teaming. People love to, everybody wants to get viral these days. I feel like sometimes people just say things just to say things so people can like get a like and that kind of thing.
Right.
I think that when we see good things go viral, and you see those comments where people are like, oh, this has already been said, it's just kind of like that thing that's like, oh, be original, that kind of thing. But I don't subscribe to that. You can post I can see the same inspirational quote on 5 different timelines and like all 5 of them, because I like to see it. So I think it just depends on, I think it depends on the person. And I think it just kind of falls into this like social media culture of like originality, getting likes, being viral, but also trying to make sure that we're not allowing like dangerous and harmful narratives to spread without like hitting back with like facts and stuff.
Right. I think you said it like, well, perfectly. It's kind of like, information literacy. We're just trying to make sure that all the disinformation and misinformation is just being removed. And it's not to say that we don't respect the opinions that, have good intentions. It's kind of like, there's so much bad. It's like,
Well, that word opinion, like there's opinion and there's fact, okay?
right.
If your opinion like straight up like goes against a fact, then that's a stupid opinion in my opinion. Like
Right.
in
Obviously.
like saying slavery is a choice, like hold on. That is stupid. Like in my book, that's a stupid opinion, because it is a fact that it was not a choice.
Hmm.
Like people were literally born into slavery, sold into slavery. So there
Right.
is no opinion on that. It's one way, and that's just it. Opinions are for things that are subjective.
Right.
If it's subjective, you have your opinion, cool. But for things where it's literally just like it's written in the books, like even
No,
though
no, I definitely get it. Like
like
subjective versus objective. I totally
yeah,
get it.
like yeah. So I feel like people try to hide. Oh, this was my opinion. Like shh.
But
Mm,
that's the tricky thing. Like, a lot of people try to like say something and they say like, oh, like, this is my opinion, and some of us can like call it out and like, no, it's not.
like
But like there'd be times where like, have you ever felt where someone has said something and you kind of took in the sense of like, is it opinion or is this person trying to be factual? Like, or like you kind of like seen like a blur between the lines.
Blur, yeah, like it's not black and white at all. Like there are some things like the example I just gave that are black and white, but there are like some like gray areas where people say things that they think to be facts or they think to be opinions, and I get that. I think for me, the way I define a fact are like things that you actually like just can't contest, things that have been written, like that have some sort of like landmark or something to denote it by. I
Yeah.
do think, however, that like our experience, our like our surroundings, our friends, our setting really just like it shapes how we view things, our lens, our point of view, that kind of thing. And that's why certain things that might be an opinion to me might be a fact to someone else. Something that's a fact that might be an opinion to me. So there is that gray area. But I think that's for like less controversial things, like in my opinion. Like I think there's some things that are just like universally facts, things that are just universally opinions, and then like based on like where you are, your soul, your society, that kind of things, then you have like the gray areas. And yeah, that's how I feel.
Right, absolutely. Like no, these types of conversations, it's just like it's a lot to just unpackage
It
because
is.
like it's so much you got to deal with because it's like,
Yeah.
oh my god. So like, just kind of want to like say one last thing. It's just like, have you felt like when it comes to like people and like just their free will to just say things, do you feel like everyone has had like the confidence? Because I know you talked about in the sense that some people don't feel comfortable for sharing their opinions. Like, do you feel like that's something we should all be like working onto, or is it like, do you feel like what, if you don't want to say something, that's okay, but like don't let it cloud yourself to where like you're always afraid to speak up on a subject matter.
Yeah. A very, very interesting question. It's hard because like I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of someone that maybe doesn't want to say something. For me, if I don't want to say something, it's the only reason would just be I don't have the energy. But more times I'm not usually afraid of saying something. It's just more so of just like, do I have the time for this conversation or not? But what I will say is I think the idea of like free will and free speech, like in some ways that they are like they're congruent, they tie into one another, but in other ways like they're different, um
Mm-hmm.
having the will to do something, to say something is one thing. Free speech is another thing. That's the right, the privilege to be able to like say whatever you want to say and not be persecuted for what you want to say.
Right.
I think that where the lines kind of get blurred is that like someone has the free will. Like I don't think free will is, especially in a well, for privileged people in a country like Canada, because there are underprivileged people in
Mm-hmm.
the white, like in the Americas. But like I feel like free will isn't something that society is restraining anybody from,
Right.
except you know what I mean. Like I feel like the conversation in terms of like people being able to say certain things is where we get into like free speech. Some people feel like they can't like freely say things that they want to say because of that fear of persecution. But the
Right.
government the government is the one who promised you free speech, not I am not the one who promised you free speech. Okay, so the government
Mhm.
can't persecute you by law for saying certain things, but I certainly can. I, Nicole Osayande, if you say something that I think is like impacting another person, like impacting another person's rights, then I can persecute you. That's how I feel about
Mhm.
it. So I've had conversations with people who have said things that I felt like made other people smaller or inferior in their conversation, and they're like, well, it's free speech, it's a law. I'm like, okay, that's really good, talk to the government of Canada about that. Okay, but I am not the government of Canada. I am telling you that I feel like what you are saying is wrong, and you should not say it, at least around me. So
Right.
I feel like for those kind of people, so my point is, for those kind of people, I think that they don't feel like open to saying it in certain groups, because I
Yeah.
know people that, let me tell you something, in that video that I did with the guys, I was talking to one of my guy friends from that video, and he was telling me that another guy friend was like saying something about white girls and how he only dates white girls. He came to the video and he was mute. He ain't saying none of that because he knew the setting that he was in, you know, and he knew that if he had said it, he would have been persecuted for it. Even though I specifically brought him into the video because I wanted him to
to
say
address
that.
it.
Like, even though I completely disagree with it, I think it's like peak buffoonery to be a black man that does not like white women. But I brought him into this chat because I wanted at least one perspective from that, because a lot of black men do think like that. But because he knows me and he knows the other black men on the panel, he kept it mute. But this same guy is not someone whose free will or free speech is being infringed upon, because when he's with his white friends, when he's with his other black men that
Talking.
are like also, you know, white women, you know, whores, then he be blah 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 blah. Okay, so that's where I feel like we get into that whole idea of like, I don't think nobody's infringing on nobody's rights. It's just a time and place. It's about your audience.
Situational.
And yeah, I feel like I really, really don't like when people come to me talking about some free speech. Like, baby girl, I am not the government. That's how I feel about that. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I just love how you just kind of went in there like that. That sounds
I,
great.
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And like I was gonna also say, like this whole conversation, like I can bring so many different like you know, like aspects of that video that 4-part series that I did on my YouTube channel. You know, there's a lot of scenes that I cut out because like some of the guys were like, oh, I said this, but I meant to say this. The girls didn't give me a chance to say this. I'm like, listen, you know, when I was moderating the conversation, I gave the girls a chance to speak. I gave the guys a chance to speak. You know, I made it clear that like I am gonna try and be as like, you know, that guy's video, the second video, that was such a hard video for me to edit, because a lot of these guys are like my friends, and hearing them say these kind of things, I was just like, I never thought that you like, I never knew
I
that,
ain't never
like,
seen it.
I've never seen you in that light. It changed my view of some of these guys, like, so like, you know, till this day there's friendships that have not come back because of that video. You know, a lot of us, you know, realize different things, but everybody that was there was given the chance to say what they want to say. And if you want to be super like, you know, intricate and meticulous about everything, look at the energy from the guys in the second video, and then look at their energy in part 3 when it was just all guys and they were all talking. They were saying like a lot of wild things. And when the girls now came, they're like, you know, they wanted to be a little bit more like reserved, you know? So it really just shows you that like, you know, people who have controversial opinions hide behind this aspect of like free will, free speech, but they're not afraid of saying anything, They're just afraid of persecution. And I think that's a bit of a cowardice move. If you can't say things with your chest in front of the people you're talking about, then you're a coward. If you really have the chest to say it in front of me. You know, say it with your chest, you know, and back up your opinion in front of everybody. But
why you being behind the bush? Why you mumbling?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I feel. And it was just, I was looking at the video, like again, I'm just like, a lot of y'all guys have a lot to say with your guy friends, but then come to the, you know, and we're all friends ish at that time. We were all friends
Ish.
at the time. So it's just a you know, a funny situation. But you know, I'm definitely gonna be doing another part of that series soon, because since then I've gotten a lot of comments about from Black women saying, you know, because of this, they've gone into university and like just been more open to dating white men, and they feel that there's persecution on that. So that's my next topic that I want to kind of talk about. That is like, are Black women absolved from that responsibility of like checking for Black men or going for white men or white suitors? Sorry, we're not a hetero only YouTube channel, but yeah.
Yeah, I get. I never understand the fascination of like how Black men just kind of do that, like, you know, around their guys.
A lot of these, like, oh, it's really, I don't want to get like, you know, riled up, but a lot of these men, like people who knew them in high school say, oh no, this person used to date Black people in high school, and then they come to these predominantly white institutions and then they're acting brand new. You know, it's very like quite a few of them, like, you know, went to school in like Brampton, like areas where like they've been surrounded with beautiful Black, brown, you know, colored women all their life, and then they go to these schools and they get a taste, obviously, because like white women, they definitely like fetishize blackness in general, or just white people in general. They love blackness to like as a plaything. They don't love us for true, but they like us as a plaything. And I feel like black men eat that up at university, but to the point where you sort of like forget your own, that's where I have a problem with it. But we're
Right.
getting attracted here. But
No,
yeah,
no, it's cool that you're bringing this up because like people are gonna say, well, maybe it has to do with like toxic masculinity. They're just afraid. Like that can't be the case. Nope, that's not it.
I've seen the frailest, the most like feminine of all men, still have this issue with white women. Like I don't think it's an issue of toxic masculinity. That's probably weaved into it a little bit because there was that we talked about this idea of like black women being perceived as more hyper masculine and white women being perceived as
Hmm.
more like feminine, which is a load of bullshit. And that probably does kind of like factor into that aspect of like black men going to black women. But then I thought about like the other black women that I know that are pretty in touch with their feminine side are not to what I would describe like trying to be overly masculine and all that kind of thing, but they still don't see black women. I think that conversation could have gone a lot deeper, but because we kind of like had to like teach these black men things, I felt like the conversation a little bit stunted. But there's definitely more and more videos coming out about that topic, and hopefully we'll get more into that conversation later.
Yes. Everyone listening, you hear that? More conversations. Go check it out, please. I advise you guys. So
Yeah.
no, but this was a really great conversation today. I think it's important, and again, it ties back to the whole the baby thing. I know a lot of people are just mad, and understandably so. Like honestly, I was
And he hasn't even issued an apology.
I want to say he apologized. I think he had a video where it's like he was kind of saying like this is not gonna stop me anyway, and then he went on to apologize regardless, and then like
Like it's very tacky. It's very, very tacky. I always hate celebrity like apologies because you can just tell it's just their PR team. There's no actual like remorse, learning, anything there. It's just sorry.
right, like literally, I think there was something where like HIV and AIDS organizations were like trying to get to him to educate this man. They're like, we're sending you letters. We're trying to like make sure you understand like what the situation is.
Like
So
some
like
people are born with it. Like you realize that some people are actually like born with HIV. Like, there's people who get into really bad situations and end up like, with HIV. There's people who
mhm.
go undetected, Like there's so much like it just reeked of ignorance. Like he made me so embarrassed. I was like, oh, this is disgusting. Like, and then like also let's talk about the fact that like he is like the king of what do you call it, Megan Thee Stallion features, and then brings Tory Lanez up on stage.
Oh man, that's a whole
Even
nother thing.
even wait, hold on. I know a lot of black men. They're like, oh, but we don't know what happened, all that kind of stuff. And I don't have the energy for that conversation. I'm talking about, should you stop listening to him? Do whatever the hell you
I
want to do.
respect
But
Tori as an artist. As an artist.
we all most people do like his music. We all like, at least for me, before the Tory the Megan shoot thing, whatever. Like Tory was probably one of my most listened artists. But that's not what I want to talk about right now. My issue is like you and Megan are like supposed to be like this, at least on a music level. So why would you like disrespect that outlook by bringing him on stage? What was the point? Who asked? Like who asked? Like I just don't get it. I just feel like, even if you support him behind closed doors, leave it behind the closed doors. Why are you gonna bring him up on stage? What message are you sending to your fellow feature? You literally just feature with
It's
her.
like, hey Megan, like it's like, hey Megan, I respect you, but like just letting you know I'm gonna be going with the man that like shot you.
Yeah,
Like it's
like
like don't take it personal. Like it's like,
right. It just felt very troll, and that's all that
it
thing.
really did.
It just felt like, oh yeah, like let me troll, like put him in a costume and take him out of the costume and troll. Like that's you should get your ass. I feel like
Oh man. So yeah, just I just want to say thank you to Nicole for being on here having this amazing conversation. This was
you for
super
having me.
fun. Oh my gosh. Like honestly, we could keep going, but I don't want to go to a point where like we're just going
Yeah,
crazy
for
and
sure, for
everything.
sure.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, where can they find you on social media just to keep track of the stuff that you're doing?
Yes. Instagram at Nicole Osa, Twitter at Nicole Osayande. That's OsaYande, and Nicole with no H. LinkedIn, Nicole Osayande, and what's the other one? Facebook, Nicole Osayande.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. Oh, and I will leave the description to your YouTube channel as well, so
Yeah.
people can go check it out. And make sure you guys don't just watch it. Go subscribe, turn on
Yeah.
the bell. Like we don't have
Yeah.
to explain this to you. You guys already know the process and
Spot
everything.
on. Exactly. Exactly.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning in for another episode of The Safe Room. It's good to be back doing like recordings again. I was off a couple weeks. I had like planned episodes, but it's good to be back. Thank you again to Nicole for being on here, and we'll see you guys next time.